What's going on, y'all? So I'm not gonna lie, today's video is gonna be a bit of a tough one just because of, just certain circumstances that are happening in my life right now. And it's funny because I think about like literally the last video or two, I was literally like so ecstatic about like what was going on in my life. And now it's just, I'm not like extremely like upset or sad or anything like that, but it's just like things that are happening right now are just, not ideal for me. And it's right now it's just me trying to find ways to make the best out of the situation that I'm in. And I mean, no matter what it takes. And it kind of does, tie into today's video as well. So today I just wanted to talk about wanted to talk about balancing your reality and your passions. This kind of started for me, a couple months ago whenever I got my job that I really like at a sneaker resale shop. That's been something that I've been wanting to do for a while, like a really long time. And it has been amazing thus far. And I love, every minute of it. Obviously it's a second job. So I have, my actual job, which, I work at most of the time, but then I, on the weekends, work at this other job. And, it's been amazing. But, as of recently, it's been a little bit hard because I'm having to balance this job that's my safety net, that pays my bills, that pays me well, along with this other job that I really love. And, it's just been hard because I want to try and make this work, but I'm having to come over here and try to make, this safety net of mine work, this job that I've been at for a really long time. And, without getting into like the specifics, it's just been difficult to work with that. It's been difficult to try and schedule around, this job that I love. I'm really trying not to get into it because it's just like so easy for me to. Long story short, it's been a couple months or several months that, this this other job that I have has been, a thorn in my side for, a while. And it honestly sucks because, it's like every day I go in and I'm just like not optimistic, at least not as optimistic as I used to be. Because I never had an issue with, going in, keeping my head down and working. And, that's it. But now it's kind of hard to keep my head down because there are things that are happening that are affecting me. And it affects me because, I've been working there for a while, and then, also because of the position that I'm in at that job. And it's just been so difficult to just walk through those doors, bro, if I'm being honest. And it's not even me, dude. It's like such a collective thing. But tangent aside, it's just been hard to really balance this thing that I love and that I've been wanting to do for so long with, like with my reality. And, there's been, and like not even this job, I'm also into like photography and, videography and stuff. And it's just been hard to balance everything. And I think it really became an issue when I realized that, like, with all of this, I'm not in as much control as I thought I was. And it honestly sucks. Because, with me, I like to it's not necessarily like even being a control freak. You know, I like to organize everything, you know, to my liking and try to make it as ideal of a situation for me as possible so that I won't, I guess, be affected in like any negative way. But, you know, as of lately, I am not in control. And it's just been really hard to grasp that fact and to really try and work everything out. And I think, you know, I wouldn't, if I didn't have this other job that I loved, I mean, I wouldn't even be making this video right now because I wouldn't have even cared. But now that I do have this job and, you know, it's real, sorry. But now that I do have this job and, you know, I feel like I'm on the brink of just like something good. And I don't want to let that go, dude. I really don't. And you know, it's really hard to work with what I love without having to sacrifice like my safety net of this better paying job for me. It honestly just sucks. I mean, there's not really any other way to put it. Oh my God. And this morning I tried to start my car and well, okay, well, it has nothing to do with this, but I tried starting my car and it wouldn't turn on. And you know, it's just, at least this last month, it's been not an ideal situation. And it's, sometimes it really is hard to look on the bright side, you know, because I have this trip coming up that I've been looking forward to almost all summer. There, now there's like something else, you know, in the way of that, and I potentially, you know, won't be able to go. You know, I have all of these different worries with so many different things in my life. And it's just like hard to not worry about, you know, what's going to happen to me tomorrow. You know, what's going to happen next week? What's going to happen next month? You know, am I like, am I going to be able to manage it all? Is this all going to crumble down? You know, am I going to spiral? You know, but then I remembered this verse. You know, I know y'all probably weren't expecting this, but it's Matthew 6:24. I actually lied to you. It's Matthew 6:34. And it says, "Therefore do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own." And you know, this is just, it's just so true. Each day does have its own thing to worry about. And, you know, something that I really get from that is to, you know, obviously not worry about anything else except right now. And this helps me because, you know, it really helps me to narrow down my focus to just what can I do right here, right now that could potentially help me with tomorrow or, you know, the future. And I feel like as for someone that tends to overthink a lot, you know, it helps me to, I guess, I mean, not overthink and to just worry, not even worry, just to really focus on today and my situation right now and something that I can do right now to help me, you know, with the future. And you know, I've already started thinking of things that I could do right now to help me out. You know, I'm gonna, you know, I guess like for example, you know, with my car, I'm gonna see if I can, you know, get the battery changed. You know, see if it's hopefully it's just a battery. Hopefully change it out. You know, yada yada yada. For me, you know, I mean, not even for me. You know, for whoever this may be for, there's really no use in worrying about, you know, the future, because, you know, obviously it hasn't even happened yet unless, you know, like without a single doubt of, you know, like what will happen in the future. You know, there's just no use in worrying about what could happen. And it would help you substantially if you could just focus on right now and see what you could do right now to help, your future self. That's one thing that I've really struggled to realize is that, as someone who likes to worry about my future a lot, it's hard to not think about what could happen to me. And, I will say, like, a lot of this is just, it's really like, I guess, like negative thoughts. Not really a lot of like positive thinking about my future, which is, which is kind of sad. But speaking to myself, there really needs to be a mindset switch. And saying that out loud, like I do realize that like whenever I think about my future, I don't think about the best possible outcome. I always think about what could go wrong, and obviously it's in scripture. Don't worry about tomorrow, because tomorrow has enough problems of its own. And like I said, something that I really got out of that was just to worry about what I could do right here, right now. Who knows? That could most definitely help me out with my whatever the future holds. I know there was definitely like a switch up in there somewhere, but I think that might be it for today. Just to recap, you know, right now it's me balancing what I really love doing with, the reality that, I am in. And, there are some things that I could do to help me out even more with, everything that's going on. But, what I need to do now is just to focus on, today and things that I could do today to help me out with, you know, tomorrow or my future. But, in the end, it'll all be all right. So, but if I am possibly able to go to my, little vacation this weekend, I will be bringing my camera and I will be trying to record a video. It's just me and my friends. So if anything, I would have to like wake up in the morning and, go outside. So, but, you know, that'll be it for today. It's really good talking to y'all. It always is. And I'll see y'all soon.